Mapfumo was an inspiration to Zimbabwe's freedom fighters in the Liberation War. But one of his latest songs has been banned from the airwaves. Disaster offends President Robert Mugabe as he fights to retain power in this weekend's elections.
There's disaster in this country. There is no light at the end of the tunnel because we are at each other's throat, killing one another. If they want that change, it's the people themselves that are going to bring about that change. If they go out there and vote.
20 years ago, Mugabe returned to Zimbabwe in triumph, the warrior whose victory ended white rule in the last British colony in Africa. Even his old enemies were taken aback.
I couldn't get over Mugabe's reasonableness, the breadth of his vision, and particularly his desire for reconciliation and keeping the white people, accepting the need for them. He said, we've got to have you.
Mugabe was the epitome of a hero, of a national hero. We all respected him. In fact, at that stage, I think I would have died for the man.
This weekend, Mugabe fights an election accused of conniving in violence, even murder against his opponents, in a desperate attempt to avoid defeat.
We are only now beginning to be aware of the monster that he is because of this reign of terror that has been unleashed throughout the whole country. The killings, the beatings, the rapings, and all the property damages just for the sake of retaining power.
In the years since independence, Mugabe has always blamed the white settlers and Britain for his country's difficulties. The legacy of colonial rule and 15 years of illegal rebellion by Ian Smith is hard to shake off. But it's also good politics to have a demon to blame for your failures.
We have not stopped singing the theme of unity and the theme of love. Even the whites are free to live here, but they must change. You see, but your kind, the British kind, are very difficult to change. We rate them as the most conceited, the most arrogant, the most selfish, and the most racist in our situation. I'm not meaning you, Mr. Dimbo, but I don't know, this is not you in person, but the ones we have here.
To see Mugabe's personal transformation from freedom fighter to African tyrant, and to see the way that he has allowed this beautiful, proud, and important country in Africa to be brought to its knees, is something that I find personally really tragic.
We ourselves should never, ever, as government and as party, even as individuals in the party, be seen to be acting in a racist way. Blacks against the whites. We have refused to do that.
But that's exactly how you are seen at the moment.
No, I'm not like that. The whites wouldn't be here if I was that. I would have been an Amin if I was racist.
An Idi Amin?
Yeah, Idi Amin, yes, but no, we can't do things like that.
It was over 100 years ago that white settlers came in force to Rhodesia, driving blacks off their land in the name of a superior civilization. It never occurred to them that their claim might be contested. There were 4 million blacks, outnumbering the whites 16 to 1. That meant 16 blacks available to act as labourers or servants for every white. Britain intended to train them up to help run the country, but the colonisers thought that this showed Britain didn't really understand Africa.
Sometimes they have to be taught the most rudimentary mechanical movements. but they progressed rapidly to more complicated industrial tasks.
When the white man came to this country, they didn't know anything else but grass huts and grass fires. The majority of them couldn't make a wheel.
The point is, the average African doesn't know what a vote is. He can't eat it, he can't sleep with it, and he can't spend it, so he's not interested.
Zimbabwe must be free. Zimbabwe must be free.
In the early 1960s, British colonies across Africa were winning their freedom as independent states. But in Rhodesia, with more white settlers than most, nationalism had an uphill struggle. The movement was dominated by the giant political figure of Joshua Nkomo, whose simple aim was one man, one vote.
That will not stop the people, because the movement that is pushing the people is bigger than the battalion. It cannot be stopped.
Impatient with the progress being made by Nkomo and his party ZAPU, a group of more radical nationalists broke away. They set up a rival party, ZANU, committed to armed struggle. Among the defectors was Robert Mugabe.
Mugabe, at the time, he was a man of very few words. But when he spoke, he was a hardliner. He believed that, no, it is necessary for us to shed our blood to get our country back.
Would you be ready to take power immediately?
Yes, we are ready. Just now, we are ready to take power, and we feel... I was the last really to abandon Como, because I didn't want disunity. I wanted us, if there was any change, to have that change within ZAPU. And I was the last, and even Como said, and Mugabe too, had two Mugabe.
That was one of my happiest days in life, because we have this man here with us. It was Mugabe sitting on my left. Today, the man who has always been very difficult to extricate from Nkomo, today he is with us away from Nkomo.
The moment he joined us in the struggle, I knew he was going to go right up, because by nature he was a very brilliant young man.
Violent feuding broke out between the rival parties. Ian Smith, the new Rhodesian Prime Minister, seized the moment to suppress them both and detain their leaders.
I think when one realizes how irresponsible some of these leaders have been and what trouble they have brought to their own African people, that we would be failing in our duty if we did not stop this.
It worked. We took them out of circulation. People began to forget about them. So it served its purpose with us.
For 10 years, Nkomo and Mugabe and dozens of other leaders were imprisoned or confined to remote camps in the bush. One of them was Gonakadzingwa, near the border with Mozambique.
Gonakadzingwa was really a terrible place, right in the thick of a wilderness. It had these insects which would come to your face, and this time you are irritated by them and so on and so forth. It was a place that I don't think was suitable for human habitation.
They lived like kings down there. They had all the food they wanted, all the liquor they wanted. They were really on the pig's back.
While Mugabe was in...
And there was the letter from his wife saying Namo had died. His son, he just sat in the corner quietly. I watched him sob.
Rhodesia's whites were putting pressure on Britain to give them independence. They wanted it right.
What is freedom without money? What is freedom without a house? That freedom is not worth anything.
Mugabe